Thanks for joining, everybody. I'd like to we've got the Rumi team here, and then also I'd like to welcome James Daniels back, obviously, who you all know, to do this evening's webinar for us. We've got a couple of new people here, so we'll also just start with a very quick intro to Rumi and demo, and then let James take the reins to show you some advice for how to manage your grazing platform at this time of year, especially while the growth rates remain quite low. We've got Britta, Johannes, Danny, Ermir and Charlie from the Rumi team on the call tonight as well, so please feel free to ask us all of your questions and you know, jump in at any time if you want to ask something. So if that sounds good, then we'll get started. So there we go, slide change. What is Rumi? Who are we? So we're building a digital product to help farmers rotationally graze and provide insights that enable the best decisions to be taken easily and early. So we are here to build and provide all the support we can to help you manage your grazing platform. Why are we doing it? And we think there can be some real benefits for farmers. So if we can help you grow more grass, we believe that means we can increase farm profits, notably reducing your fertilizer spend and your winter feed spend, which I think is, would I be right in saying £250 a tonne roughly for both this season, James? I think you're muted.
I see, yeah, fertiliser prices are pretty high. There seems to be a nice correlation between high lamb and beef and high input prices. So, yeah, certainly creeping up.
Then, of course, we want to improve farmers' soil resilience. So restoring the soil's natural productivity to withstand periods of dry weather and periods of very wet weather. And so through improving soil health, also being able to improve business resilience too into the future. So thinking of both you know, short-term profit savings, but also long-term gains for the farm as well. Benefit the environment, because of course the more grass grows, the more carbon it can sequester into the soil. And then last but not least, give more work-life balance. So if you can feel more confident that you're taking the best decision at the right time, that you can avoid any negative consequences later, to give you peace of mind and buy that time back later, so potentially you can spend more time with your families as well. So that's the kind of high level. We want to, some of you guys might have already seen this, but it's important for us to tell you how it works, because obviously that's something you'll want to know. So we use a combination of different data inputs. We start off with multispectral images from Sentinel-2 satellites, and these satellites pass every 4 to 5 days, and when it's cloud-free, they'll get a picture of your covers. When it's cloudy, however, it can take a bit longer to get that picture, and we know that frequency of updates is critical. So we're also currently integrating radar from Sentinel-1 satellites. We're making really good progress with this. I saw some pictures this morning, and I have confidence that things are going well there. When we can get this integrated, that would update our frequency to kind of roughly once every 2 days, regardless of cloud cover, so it can actually see through the clouds. In the meantime, however, while we're waiting for that to happen, and it's looking good, we also have a grass growth model, pasture growth model. So you don't necessarily need to wait for the satellite pass to see your covers update. We look at growth rates, and we can predict how much the grass will grow in between. And we've based this growth rate as well on collecting thousands and thousands of plate meter readings from farmers. And then we also enable farmers to enter their own plate meter readings into the app. So what this does is, if for whatever reason you see the cover readings don't look quite right to you, you can override them with your own plate meter readings. And you can also use this to compare what Rumi's telling you against your own. So you can look at how accurate we are and judge it for yourselves. Rumi does really benefit from the more farm walks you can enter, because the more data we've got about farms, the quicker we can make a good product that works for you, and the quicker our machine learning models can understand the patterns. So that really helps us. We also, I should mention, we've got a really exciting project running in parallel. So we have 10 pilot farms spread across the UK and Northern Ireland to gather the most accurate data we can get. And we don't believe this level of data collection has been done yet. Each of the farms has a state-of-the-art weather station in it. The farmers are doing, and Ian here this evening is one of our pilot farmers, have to big him up. The farmers are taking cut and weigh samples from 3 pastures. These are then sent for lab analysis. They're also equipped with digital plate meters. So we're getting weekly farm walks with pinpoint specific plonks. I believe that's the technical term. And we're taking soil samples as well. So I appreciate that was a bit of a mouthful. I think the way to look at it is we're using data from several inputs, including advanced technologies we can. And then we're marrying that up with measurements that farmers take from the ground to give you the best insights and the most reliable insights. As our technology evolves more and more, our goal is to reduce the amount of data farmers need to input, so that we can make life easier for you and give you that time. So I feel like it would only be fair to give a quick demonstration to show what this looks like on the product, and then after that I'll hand over to James, who will take us through some more steps about seasonal planning. So here's the app. Can everybody still see my screen? I'm trusting that's fine. Yeah. So here we have our demo farm. When you sign into Rumi, you'll see your average farm cover on the top left here. So you can potentially use that to compare your covers at any time in the season with targets you might have. We've also built in, we show the cover variation across each individual field. So if you hover over the different shades of green, it will show you the cover and the variation across. And also we know you'll want to know the cover for each specific field or paddock. So we show this, you can click on any field and it will show you the cover and also the available dry matter. So we assume that you leave 1,500 kilograms of dry matter per hectare residual, and then looking at the area, we calculate your available dry matter as well. You can change the residual levels if you want, if you're grazing sheep or you have your own preferences. It's pretty easy to add fields. Let's just add one to show you what that looks like. And you simply go to the plus button, add field. We'll just call this test for now. By default, all the fields will be added to your silage bucket. If you want to add it straight into a group, you can do that. So take the drawing tool, and you can take as much time as you want to get the geometry to match whatever kind of subdivisions you might want, or take a bit of time to get it right for your farm. And then if I hit save, this will compute pretty quickly. Our previous competitors, we noticed, took days to make this happen. So we're quite proud that we can get that happening in seconds. And again, it shows you the field variation. I'll just delete this one now because I don't want it to interrupt James's flow later when he's assigning fields to groups. So I also mentioned how to add in a farm walk. So if you want to add in your own plate meter readings, again, so for example, if you're looking at a field and you decide, you know what, I think my covers are a bit different, I want to update my farm, then you go to the plus symbol on the home screen and go to add cover. So let's say you've done a farm walk, it was today, and choose your start time, let's say 9 AM, maybe you finished around 12. Click next. And then here we show you the list of all the covers that Rumi shows you at the moment, and we just let you simply type in the new covers you've taken from your farm walk. So I'm going to go, this one's 1,500, let's say, because the field's been grazed. Potentially this one's seen a bit of growth. And this one potentially too. I'm only going to enter in 3 fields for now because it would be pretty boring for you to watch me type a very long list of numbers, but this can demonstrate how it works. Now you'll notice that it's picked up the field where I mentioned it was 1,500. So we assume that there's the chance you've had a grazing or a mowing event there. And then we can ask you simply to tell us, you know, what was it? Did you cut it for silage? Did you graze it? So if we go with grazed this time, and then simply add in your pre-cover, which could be whatever you want, but probably 2,400, let's say, and you put them in on the 18th at midday. Again, choose these settings for whatever you want, and you graze it down to 1,500 or thereabouts, and pulled them out the field 2 days later, potentially same time, or whatever time it is for you, and then you can go through all the fields you want to add grazing events for and hit next. Now we then show you how accurate we are compared with your readings. I know it says 100% here, but that's just because I've added in 3 fields. Obviously, when you've got your whole list, you might get slightly different results. That's the number of fields within a plus minus 200 kilograms of dry matter per hectare bracket, and we hope that we're getting closer with accuracy the whole time. There's actually another feature which even people who know our product won't have seen yet, because we've just added it today. So quite excited to show you this. But if you go into let's say you just want to update one field, you don't want to have to enter a whole farm walk every time you move your animal group, for example. If you click on the field where there's been, which you want to change, either you just want to change the cover of one field, so you can just click edit and then enter the time and the new cover that you want to add in. And then that will update that field there and then straight away for you. So you've got it exactly showing what you want. But also quite useful is, okay, you've just moved your animals from that field. So you've noticed an immediate drop in cover because it's been grazed or also part grazed or mown. Then just simply type in the cover the animals went in at and the cover they came out at and the time. And so you don't have to record your grazing events for later. You can just type them in as you go, and it should be relatively easy to do from your mobile as well. Martin, Martin Griffiths, you're on the call. I believe this is a feature we've been promising you for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully you'd be willing to give it a go for us as well, and hopefully it can make your life a bit easier.
Yeah, certainly. I will certainly give it a go. Anything to make my life easier.
Thanks. So that's our bit of the demonstration complete for the moment. James is going to come back and show you more in a second. So I suppose something I just wanted to clarify is we've talked about, wrong link, go away. Excuse me. Yeah, we've talked about quite a few data inputs, some things which you can do as a farmer, some different places where we're getting information from. So I just wanted to quickly try and just run through those steps to make it clear. We recommend you enter a couple of farm walks when you first get the product. It really helps us get the readings more accurate for your farm, and it really helps Rumi just develop a better service for you quickly. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about how many farm walks is useful later. And then we do recommend you enter your grazing and cutting events as you go until Rumi gets really frequent with its updates. We think you'll find it easier to add those events as you go than have to go through the adding farm walks dialogue. And then, of course, if you see that your data's looking off for whatever reason, please do enter a farm walk at any time just to bring those results back up to look exactly as you want them to, if we haven't got them there ourselves. We're continuously working on the frequency and the accuracy of the readings we can provide you via satellite. So it's very much our intention that over time you have to input less and less of your readings into the product. So by investing some effort and energy into it now, hopefully you'll really feel the benefits as we get these technologies working better and better. And just a last note, because we've got our grass growth prediction model now working as well, so in between satellite passes, we're still predicting your growth covers. You don't need to wait for a satellite pass to compare your readings against Rumi. And you can do it at any time, and we'll still get a comparison of, is what we're telling you at any time, does it marry up with what you're measuring on the ground? Yeah, so that's a quick recap. And at this stage, I'll pass over to James. But yeah, keep your questions coming throughout. Okay, stop sharing. Over to you, James.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Paddy. Anyone have any questions? If you do for Paddy, then just, yeah, Ian, do you want to unmute yourself? And
yeah, please feel free.
Oh, Ian, looks like you're muted, but Fred, we can't hear you at the minute. So I think you've got mic unplugged. Yeah, no, not yet.
No. No.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Are we any better now?
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Ian, or?
I do.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, cool. No, so it's like really, really busy at the minute. So I did my weighing and my measuring last week, but didn't have time to put it on and put it on. Well, to be dead honest, I'm putting it on AgriNet now, and I've done today's walks. I'm going to put 2 weeks on now, but I did put it on Rumi last night. But obviously, I put that in on the date that I measured it. So when I log back in, that should show. Would that show them covers that I just put in, or would that show like real time what you guys are saying they're in? So basically, I put my readings in that I did on the 14th. So if I put them in last night, would your program know to add on that many days growth since the 14th to the, so say 5 days growth?
I believe it would.
Yeah, I can answer that as well, Paddy, if you're not sure. So
yeah,
like you saw how Paddy showed in the beginning, you say, when was your measuring date and time, right? So that's the time that we use to then extrapolate from.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure it would. It was just something that popped into my head that I thought I better double check. So I'll probably, if I get time later on tonight when I'm in bed, I might enter today's as well.
And if there's been a satellite pass since the 14th as well, Ian, then we'd update your readings for you as well.
Cool. No worries. That was all. That was all.
Thanks for putting your readings in. That's awesome. Really good.
My wife doesn't think so.
Well, not when you're doing a bed, Ian.
I'm either that or watching cows calve, hopefully, on the CCTV. So.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll kick off then. Yeah, hey, we're a small group, so if anyone's got any questions or points, then just unmute yourself and shout them out, because when I share screen, I probably won't see a hand up. So yeah, either Paddy, you can sort of facilitate and take care of that matter, or say anyone just wants to unmute and shout out, then please do so. Yeah, heading into an interesting spring. So yeah, hopefully we'll find some points we can share with you that will be useful. Appreciate we've got farmers here with a variety of systems from sheep, beef to dairy. So I'll try and keep either my points general, or I'll make sure I sort of touch on all systems. If you want to discuss anything specific, then just let me know. So plan to go through grazing management, just to step back a little bit and think about what our aims are, review the current situation, talk about some grazing management options, and then a bit of a look ahead as to what we're thinking is going to happen, or what might happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then how can we best manage it. So with that step back, role of a farm manager, well, simply to supply the right quantity and quality of feed to their animals at the right time. So why is that so important? Well, if you think about farm performance, however you like to express that, 90% of that farm performance is generated or is influenced by feeding. So that's the correct quantity and quality of feed. And then 10% is breeding. So simply put, we're going to spend a lot of money on a new bull or a new ram or the best AI straw, but that animal that's born will never express its true potential if it doesn't get the right feed at the right time. And whilst I even think most of you guys on the call are sort of looking for grass or pasture to be the main source of that feed, that means the right amount of grass at the right time, in the right place, the right stock. If they get that, then the work of the farm manager, or your work's mainly done, and it's sort of over to your stock breeder to make sure you've got the right genetics to utilize that feed. So that's feeding's quite easy to achieve in the shed, because buckets of feed, easier to count, much harder in the paddock. And that's why pasture measurement and a tool to take that data and to look at how we can allocate it is really important. And hopefully that's the role of Rumi, to become that sort of pasture management tool to help you get that balance right and improve farm performance. So in terms of that management, we're thinking about supply and demand. So feed supply is our pasture growth, plus any supplementary feed we might be offering. That's the feed supply. And our demand is generated from the animals. So that's set by their weight, their metabolic state. Are they pregnant? Are they lactating? And I guess perhaps with a show of hands, how many of you could tell me what your farm demand was today? So how many of you know how much feed you need? And that feed probably be expressed in kilos of dry matter per hectare. So I'll just stop sharing a minute. And for those of you livestock, just a hand up, who could tell me what your farm demand is today? Okay, yeah, Adrian, David, bit of a shake hand on David. So come on, Adrian, I'll let you unmute yourself and let us know what your farm demand is. I'm still muted, Adrian, I'm afraid.
It's 1,232.
That's total demand?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Do you know what that is per hectare? What's your grazing platform size at the moment?
17.4 per hectare.
Okay, cool.
I did a walk today, so it's quite easy.
You've been preparing. Cool. Yeah. So, and do you know your growth then, Adrian, in the previous week?
8.5, I think.
Okay, cool. So demand of 17 kilos dry matter a hectare, growth of 8.5. So pretty straight away with that data, we know farms in a deficit. What happens in a deficit? Farm cover drops. The amount of grass on farm starts to drop. Why is that important? Well, it's going to start to affect stock performance at some point, because depending on the state of the animals, whether they're pregnant or lactating, they need so much feed to do that and to do it well. If they're underfed, then no matter how good their genetics are, they simply won't be able to perform to their potential. And that starts to affect us later in the season. Lamb weaning weight might reduce, calf weaning weight, cow condition, peak lactation missed, less litres per cow, all that sort of stuff. So knowing that supply-demand balance is not just interesting, it's really useful because it helps us make some decisions as we go through the season. So awesome, AJ, thanks for sharing that. So how do you find out your supply-demand balance? Well, to find out your supply, that normally means, or has meant, using a plate meter. And obviously that's potentially where Rumi can come in and save that job or that task. And then also where Rumi's coming in a little bit is to also help calculate what the farm demand is. And farm demand's always been slightly more difficult to calculate, slightly easier with the dairy farms. So Martin, maybe he's got a fixed number of cows and quite a fixed grazing area, then his demand stays roughly the same throughout the season, particularly if you're spring calving. Whereas sheep and beef farms, it's just chaos. There's stuff getting heavier, stuff getting lighter, stuff getting pregnant, and then lambs being born, so the numbers keep changing. So it's a little bit chaotic on sheep and beef farms. So having a tool to help you work out what your demand is for any given day, compare it to your supply, instantly we've got something to make some decisions with. And it also gives us a tool to track average farm cover. So average farm cover is the average amount of pasture on the farm, and that's important this time of year. This time of year, we expect it to have fallen maybe through March as we started grazing early and grass growth was less than our farm demand. But normally by this point in the season, we expect that farm demand to start turning the other direction and start increasing, and for growth rates to be higher than our demand, and for us to reach magic day when the farm grows what it needs to satisfy the needs of the stock. And so far we're not there yet, and we're not likely to be at magic day for, well, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I guess the exception would be in Ireland, where they've had ample rainfall. But certainly right across England and Wales and Scotland, we're very much in feed deficit, not in magic day. Farm cover's falling. As it falls, our ability to grow grass is reduced. We've got less solar panels on the farm, less leaf area, but also it starts to put stock. It starts to reduce the amount of feed available for stock, and that has a knock-on effect to performance. So hopefully there's a bit of a summary, sort of things to think about, why it's important. That's just given us a bit of an intro. Any questions, just shout them out. If we think about spring in particular, then we're looking to feed stock to ensure they can reach peak lactation, and that's true regardless of system. Anyone with animals that were pregnant and have now lambed or calved or are about to, peak lactation is important because it sets the amount of milk the animal will produce for the rest of her lactation, and depending on the stock class, that's achieved at different times. So with sheep, it's reached about 3 weeks after lambing, and with cows, sort of reached around 6 to 8 weeks after calving. So for them to reach peak, they need to be, 1, in a good body condition, and 2, have ad lib feed available. The amount of milk produced at peak sets the total amount of milk produced for that lactation period, and therefore it also sets the weaning weight, or has a big influence on the weaning weight of their progeny, or just the total litres produced, total kilos of milk produced for the cow if we're in a dairy system. So it's really important. It's probably underpinning farm profit, and it's being underpinned by amount of grass available and average farm cover. So again, springs are always tricky. This one's just proving a little bit trickier as testing our patience. So have a look at current position. We're cold on average, and although there's a lot of chat when we started this meeting about being drier than average, my feeling at the moment, and I've been on 5 farms so far this week and we've dug a few holes, moisture maybe one of the limiting factors. Well, I think at the moment it's not the limiting factor. I think the limiting factor at the moment, and has been for probably all of spring so far, is soil temperature. I've got some evidence to support that, but yeah, just so we're aware, grass grows at 5 degrees soil temperature and clover grows at 8 degrees. And if we think about the phases of spring we go through, we sort of seem to be sort of stuck in this third winter, waiting for mud season and the rain to arrive before we get through to actual spring sometime. So soil temperatures, part of the pilot project that Rumi have got, trying to give me access to some of the weather stations that are on farms across the country. And here's the last 4 weeks of data for air and soil temperature. So air being the blue and soil temperature being the brown. And if we look across all of the graphs, no matter where we are in the country, it's slightly better in the west. So yeah, so Aled Haynes, who's joined us, probably the best position to be in at the moment in terms of soil temperature. The highest potential growth rates are there, but it's very low. It's really low for this time of year, and it's struggling to get high. Despite the sunny days, we see it's lifting up in the daytime with the sunshine, and it's dropping at night with that cool nighttime temperature. And this is soil temperature at 4 inches, 400 centimeters. So yeah, we're not at the surface, and this is sort of what's limiting grass growth at the moment. But equally, looking at rainfall over the last 4 weeks, that's also been super low. So whilst I think soil temperature is probably most limiting at the moment, temperatures are forecast to improve. That's going to become less limiting, and then probably moisture will take over as being maybe more limiting. So a couple of factors against us, and yeah, appreciate this stuff's historic, but it's kind of good to understand the current position we're in. It's yeah, sort of an interesting one at the moment. Despite the sunshine, still quite cold, and the night time's really dragging average things back. I mean, you see that in the trees and the hedges, things are being late to emerge, and it's the coolness or coldness that's keeping that held back. So what we're looking for in the forecast, I think we're looking for it to warm up, which is forecast to do so next week for pretty much across the country, particularly as nighttime temperatures increasing. So I feel we'll get an increase in growth with that, probably more than we're expecting, and because the soil moisture isn't necessarily limiting at the moment, but it could be. So let's think about some management. Well, because we're in deficit, farm cover's dropping, and as I've been driving around the country, I'm seeing some animals in fields where the grass is too short for those animals to perform to their potential. So we've got to kind of decide, is it economically viable to start to offer some supplement? And we see in this table, we'll make sure you guys get a copy of the presentation, so you can get a copy of this table, but pasture cover heights for optimum performance. So if we're going to set stock animals, and we're looking to provide them with so much grass, what sort of cover height should we use? And the optimum sits in the middle. So for a dairy cow, relatively big animal, not quite as big as a suckler cow, yeah, for most dairy cows. So the height of grass they need is sort of 10 to 12 centimeters, because that means for every bite they take, they can get as much in their mouth at once. They only graze for so many hours a day. And so therefore, if grass is at the optimum height, they'll get as much energy as they can in a grazing period. Sheep are much smaller, so therefore their optimum grazing height of grass is sort of around 8 to 9 centimeters. Smaller mows, weaned lambs, it's lower again. So this is all about just grazing mechanics. So whilst there's an optimum, there's also a maximum and a minimum, and not many of us are in danger of exceeding the maximum at the moment, but a lot of farms, a lot of pastures are in danger of exceeding the minimum. And what happens if we go below the minimum? Well, the animal doesn't compensate on low pasture. They don't graze for longer. Nearly all ruminants graze for around 8 to 9 hours a day. Genetics affect how quickly they can bite and chew and the width of their mouth, but it doesn't affect how long they graze for. And if they're on short pasture, they don't really compensate by grazing longer. They just get less grass, less energy, and then they go on to produce less milk or less weight gain. So minimum covers and keeping an eye on those are really important, and probably the value of Rumi at the moment is helping us keep an eye on those, or a handle on those as well. So I think with that, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and then have a look at this demo farm example. Yep. Paddy, just give me a heads up if that's changed over.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, cool, thank you. So So here's our farm, and what we've got is we've got fields allocated to different stock classes. And the position we're sort of using for this scenario is that I haven't been on there for a couple of weeks, been super busy lambing and calving and stuff, and we've settled down with a beer like Ian has, and I think I saw someone else drinking one as well. And we're going to have a quick review of where we're at, and try and make some decisions for the first couple of weeks ahead. So simply visually, I'm sort of looking at the lighter colours where the covers are lower, and got a couple of blocks set up to have a look at. On the left-hand side, I've got my groups, so I can enter as many groups as I want to in Rummy, and each group can be made up of multiple stock classes. So, for instance, in my suckler cow group, I could have the cows plus the maiden heifers if their weights were significantly different. Or I could have a flirt, a group of cows and sheep, and put those weights in individually to make up that group, which has got the demand. On my terminal use, I can see straight away my demand's 50, and sort of from the dashboard, my gross 25. So straight away I know, look, gross, my supply is 25, my demand's 50. Like Adrian was saying, demand of 17, growth of 8. Situation's not great. Average farm covers can be trending downwards at the moment. So if I look at that terminal U group, you can see the fields outlined in red and the fields are allocated to. And if I hit a particular field, I can just see what the average farm cover or the average cover is on that field, and I can sort of cruise around the fields and pick up any that I think are maybe getting a bit low. Another way to do that is to stay in the group and look at the grass wedge. So what a grass wedge is, it's the fields are allocated to that group of animals. The width of the bar is the area of the field, or the size of the field. The height of the bar is the amount of grass in the field. So it gives us a very good visual representation of how much grass is in the fields allocated to this group. So we can see a lot of these fields, the covers are low. They're not kind of quite below our sort of minimum cover level, but they are low. So there's a reason to take action here. And because demand is quite high in this block and supply is less than our demand, we see here growth rate 25, demand of 50. We know that our average cover is going to be trending downwards. And actually what Rumi's telling us, we've got 4 grazing days ahead. So that's saying if grass growth was 0, within 4 days, all of these fields would be at 1,500. And at 1,500, stock performance would definitely be compromised. So less milk produced and the ewes losing body condition. The blue line is our target line. So anything that lies below the target indicates a deficit of feed. And how the target line is set is on the number of animals and the area available, and then by the rotation length. So if you've got 30 hectares and you're going around in 30 days, it's a hectare a day. And therefore for that to work, each hectare needs a minimum amount of grass to provide for those stock. So that number sets the starting height of that bar. The bar then finishes at the target residual, or the target post-grazing cover. So that's how low we're grazing. So if I set that to 1,400, because I'm trying to gain a bit more grass, so I'm going to say, well, I'm happy for the stock to graze lower in this instance. It might penalise my regrowth, but it's going to make a little bit more feed available. And it's probably the reality of the situation I'm in at the minute. Gives me slightly more grazing days ahead because there's been slightly more feed available, but still shows me that the target cover, if this was a rotation, is a lot higher. So whilst you use a set stocks as these are, the supply demand line is less useful. And what I'm actually looking at is sort of cover heights and grazing days ahead for this group. So given we're in deficit, we've got a group of ewes and lambs, and I can let you know that this group lambs started lambing at the middle of March. So our lambs are now 3 to 4 weeks old. Does someone want to give me some suggestions of what I could do to improve this situation, to reduce my demand in the context of this scenario? So Alan and David, I know you've got some sheep. Picking on you.
Hello.
Fingers first to him. Yeah, go on, David.
What you would do, well, you can either supplementary feed or try and find some more ground, pretty much, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think the third option was to get some rain from James over in Holland. But the first two are most plausible. Yeah.
Well, fertiliser, I suppose you could, if you weren't, legume based. I suppose if you were straight grass in a rainier area, you might put a bit on, try and boost some growth.
Yeah. I think that's the three options, and say of those, what can we do immediately? We can definitely supplement with lambs are sort of 3 to 4 weeks of age. David, would you think about supplementing the ewe or the lamb?
Ewe.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the right train of thought or right response. Ewe still milking, and probably if it was 6 weeks, the lambs were 6 weeks of age, then maybe we'd prioritise thinking about creep feeding the lamb. But up till then, probably supporting the ewe and enabling her to maintain condition and continue producing milk probably would be the more favoured option. So we can have a look and see what that would look like, and to what extent would we need to do that to have a positive effect. So the way I do that in Rumi is in a couple of different ways. If I wanted to add more area, I can go back out to the farm level and I can say, okay, well, what fields have I got that aren't allocated to stock? And I've got a couple of fields here which are in silage, and I can click on those and say, well, is the cover suitable for ewes and lambs? There's one at 3.6, that sounds a bit strong. There's one at 2.7, that sounds a bit better. So then I'm thinking, well, is it going to compromise my ability to make silage? We'll assume this year most farms will grow the normal amount of grass in the 12-month period. Just when they're going to grow it, it's going to be a bit different. So not going to grow it in April, might grow extra grass in August this year. So I'm not too concerned about taking out silage grain for grazing at the moment. Still early in the season, still a long time ahead of us to gain that growth back. More concerned about supporting ewe lactations, heavy lambs at weaning, getting lambs off the farm on time so I don't penalise myself in the back end. And same thought process for cows and calves as well, and same process for dairy cows. What's more economically viable, to go and graze some silage grounds and trust we'll get that growth back later in the season, or to feed supplements. So preference normally is to feed grass. So that field, if I click here, I can move that straight to the terminal use. So that then changes colour, so that's part of that rotation now. And then that field appears in my wedge, and all of a sudden I've got 12 days ahead, and my demand's now 40, not 50. So that's started to have a good effect, a good impression on that situation. Maybe not good enough, and if we're not confident we can get rain in 12 days, we're still going to be back in the same situation. So it's bought us some time, but not solved the position. If I go into edit that animal group, I could look to feed a supplement, and the way we're going to do that at the moment in Rumi is by reducing the animal demand. So to make it easy maths, if I fed 450 grams of supplement per ewe per day, that demand would be 2 kilos. So if I save that, that's dropped my demand from 44 back to 33. Just see that number there now for the group. Open my grass wedge, I've now got 15 days ahead, and my demand's dropped back to 33. So again, I haven't matched my grass growth rate, but I'm getting a lot closer to it, and I've bought myself some time for things to warm up, and that may be my solution. If things warm up and growth increases to 33, I hold my demand, I match my demand, average farm cover is held at where it is now. It's increased now because I bought this extra field in. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea just with this group, how I can use Rumi now, whether I've used the satellite measurements, whether I'll put my own plate meter measurements in, but I can use it to try and balance my stock classes and make some sort of week-to-week decisions straight away. I think I'm just going to leave it there, Paddy. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, then yeah, great time to shout them out.
Sure. Please do feel free to ask questions.
If anyone's got any other supplementation options or suggestions, and I don't know if anyone's put fertiliser down and seen a response, that'd be quite good to hear.
I must admit, fertiliser seems to be responding better than I thought. We've also we've also been going out with, as soon as we've been grazing paddocks out, we've been going out with about 1,600 gallons an acre of dirty water, and that seems to be making a hell of a difference. It's getting things shooting away quite quickly after the cows come out of the paddock.
Yeah. Dirty water for you, Martin, is that separated slurry, or is that sort of parlour washings and yard runoff?
It's the slurry pit with not mixed, so it's just taking the water out of the bottom, okay, basically. Okay, yeah, so it would have a nutrient value, but be low dry matter. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, quite pleased how little contamination there's been on the, especially when the wet. This benefit of the weather being so dry now. The tanker can get the tanker on straight away as soon as the cows come out, and because it's at a low residual, there's very little contamination of the sward anyway. Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, I think as anyone with slurry in the say can pull off the water component of it, a contingent, then that's probably a bonus. Obviously, our nervousness would be about, you're spreading anything more solid is, as you said, leaf contamination, but obviously the time you're doing it at, when just immediately post grazing, immediately after grazing, definitely the most suitable. So well done for having making the time to get that done. Yeah, well, I measured today, and the growth rates. I've just been working the growth rates out as we were talking there. Now, last week I was on 30 kilos a day, or 32 kilos a day. We're on 29.1 over the platform at the moment, and I've got an average cover of 21.25 at the moment. It's there or thereabouts, really. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good growth with quite low cover, or with a relatively low cover. So yeah, I think we might have issues when we come off the first round. The cows now, and keep them quite tight. They're going to need more on the second round, and I think if we don't get any rain, it's towards the end of the second round, I'm going to might well find issues. Yeah, you have to accelerate with low entry covers, allocate more area on the second round, which means it'd be a quicker one. As you say, we need to see some moisture before the end of it. Yeah, no, thanks, Martin. Yeah, back to you, Paddy, I think.
A slightly maybe off-topic question. How much of a penalty are you going to get by pushing the residual harder? So that's something that we've done probably the last 2 years, because we've been overstocked, I suppose. And as hard as a penalty we're getting by really grazing down to the butt, as opposed to kind of giving it, it'll be white coming out as opposed to having any bit of green in it. How much of a penalty are we getting back in terms of grazing days?
Yeah, it's real balance, James, because I guess the important factor there, if you're grazing low or grazing to tight residuals, is how many days you're taking to do it. So if you're doing that in one grazing event and in one day, then there's probably a very small penalty, assuming the grass you're grazing was fully recovered when you went into it. So if you're going into tall covers that are kind of plus 12 centimeters and grazing those tight, but doing it in 1 or 2 days per paddock, minimal growth check. If you're taking a week to do it, then yes, you're having a negative impact on your regrowth and your recovery.
Okay, yeah. Typically we spend about 2 to 3 days in the paddock.
Yeah. So I think that's perfect. It's a real tough one, because if you accelerate and you just keep allocating more area and you try and leave a sensible residual, you can end up going around the farm in 3 weeks, coming back on plants that, if they're ryegrass, maybe at like 1.5 leaf stage. And once you eat those, then you're severely reducing farm cover, and you're almost impacting plant regrowth and survivability. So if you need to hold farm cover and to maintain leaf area on farm, if you slow up, then you will inevitably take residuals down tighter. So it's just being strong enough with that decision to give yourself enough recovery period, enough days ahead before you need to go back round again. So trying to avoid the sort of untold acceleration where you screw around the farm quicker and quicker and get less and less grass. So if you need a supplement, put it in now, accept there'll be a tight residual to get them to eat the supplementary feed sometimes, but make sure you buy yourself enough days recovery ahead at the moment. And how many days do you need? Well, that's the crystal ball thing at the moment, along with when's it going to rain.
Thanks.
Okay. Cheers, James. I'll pick up the presentation again, but of course, please do feel free to ask us your questions at the end or keep them coming by email. Happy to hear them. Thanks indeed for the presentation, James. Okay, share my screen. So yeah, just to wrap up, I just wanted to quickly show you our tech roadmap for the rest of the year. Also, where we've been and where we're going next. So we started off in September with multispectral satellite images and getting about 4 readings a month. Then in January, we added the ability for farmers to add your own farm walks and plate meter readings, as discussed before. We've got 10 pilot farms now set up, already mentioned, across UK and Northern Ireland, doing our cut and weigh sampling and weather, getting really accurate weather data. So hopefully really improving the accuracy of results we can give you. And then the next thing on the roadmap is to get the radar integrated, which we're really excited about. And hopefully that can provide, around 20 readings per month once we get that in, regardless of cloud cover. So yeah, we've been very busy so far, and we've got no intention to stop. We're going to carry on making this product as good as possible for you. Also, just to show you this little GIF, we quite like this. This is a multispectral image or series of multispectral images, and we can actually use machine learning to take out a huge amount of cloud cover already. And then once we get the radar, then we'll be able to see through those final slightly thicker bits. So we're already employing techniques to really get the most data out of the images we have. And I would be remiss not to mention our early bird special offer, which we've got this season. So for everybody who signs up for their first annual subscription, we've got a special offer available. So Rumi is £1 per hectare per month, but we also believe that when you use it alongside the webinar advice that we can provide, that you really will save money. So we believe that the most notable saving would be on fertilizer and winter feed reduction, which is pretty costly. So would really like you to think about it in terms of the savings you can make. Included in the price is free monthly webinars, much like you've seen this evening. So it's not just the app that we're providing. It comes with the support and guidance to use it and to really make sense of that data to get you the savings that you need. And on top of that, we're offering a 30% discount. So that's for the first year. And there's a way to unlock the discount, which I'll go into after this. We've now built in a feature which means you can also, if you've got multiple sites across your farm, you can switch between farm sites. And if you've got a consultant, we work with, we're in touch with multiple different consultants, including Lupo, Liz Jennifer, Robert Gilchrist, or any consultant. You can, as a farmer, you can offer your consultant access to Rumi, so that you can both look at your farm in real time and get the best support alongside our webinars. And then finally, of course, you can start for free. So we don't ask any upfront card details or anything. We're quite happy to get you started, able to play with the product on your farm with all features. And there's no upfront commitment whatsoever. So please do feel free to try it out and see how well it works for you. In order to unlock the 30% discount, we ask that you would enter 6 farm walks by the end of May. Now, there's actually a few new people on the call tonight, so it wouldn't be, if you are new to it, then it would be unfair to ask you to do it by the end of May. But roughly, we say roughly 60 days from signing up and getting your account that we would ask you to have your plate meter walks in to unlock the discount. It works as 5% discount for every farm walk you do. And we ask that you enter a minimum of 2 walks, and that would give you the minimum discount of 10%. And of course, these farm walks are actually, they're helping you calibrate your farm to get the best ongoing results from Rumi. We believe your consultants will appreciate you taking your readings anyway and having that data to get started. And if you enter 6 walks, because this data really helps us, then that gets you up to a 30% discount. We'd ask for a minimum of 50% of your grazing platform or during each walk, or if you have a small farm, kind of at least 25 hectares. So this discount, if you've got a 100 hectare farm, that's £360 off your first year, which we hope could mean something to you. That's how to unlock the discount. And finally, just to reiterate that we're a small team and we're growing. So if you need any help at all, we've got the webinars. We're working very closely with consultants who I'm sure would be happy to help you. And if you want to call us up and ring us, then it's actually us that answers the phone to you. Ian, you've tried calling a couple of times, haven't you? It's me on the end of the phone line. So there's no, it's really not difficult to reach a human being. And if there's anything where we can't get you the exact answer ourselves, then we know who to reach out to get the answer. And we're here because we want to help farmers do rotational grazing and get the best results. We're really excited about the business and the product that we're building. We love what we do, and it's absolutely critical to us that we continue talking to our customers as much as possible. So we really would hope that you reach out whenever you feel the need. And that's the end of this evening's meeting. But of course, any final questions, please do ask, and anything that's on your minds, feel free. Anybody?
Just thanks for a very informative webinar, I suppose.
Thank you. Yeah, and huge thanks for James, obviously, for providing all that information.
Yeah, no worries, bye.
If there aren't any questions, we will share a recording of this, assuming everybody's happy with that. So you can watch it again, you can share it with people, and also just get in touch anytime with your questions. We're on WhatsApp, phone, email, whatever it is. Please don't hesitate. Stop sharing.
Can I ask a quick one, if possible?
Of course.
Do you think it would be practical to be able to sort of, because we're thinking from a risk management point of view, we're a sheep farm in the east of England. It gets quite dry quite quickly. That running at sort of 60% sort of stocking rate on our maternal ewes would be a good idea. So we have that flexibility of say 40% of our stock as trading that we could jump in and out of to try and be flexible on. I'm not verbalizing this very well, but do you think you'll be able to in time put something in where we could attribute something monetary to make decisions on what stock would be best bought on a so say if we've got a surplus at any point in the year, to try and calculate what might be the best class of stock to buy to use that surplus? Does that make sense? Sort of like a calculator.
So you want to know, David, for the kilos of dry matter you got available, how many pence per kilo you could earn?
Yeah, and where in
stock and the kill schedule.
Yeah, and where that is in the point of the year, and just to try and make a decision. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
because we're just trying to manage risk from our point of view. It's all been all over the place the last few years, and as you know, we're trying to grow some different things to try and manage that risk, but it's still not proving very easy.
Yeah, sure. I think for you guys, probably having that that sort of monthly supply demand budget set, so you've got a heads up and awareness of what your demand is. I think that's certainly something that Rumi, we use spreadsheets, but it's certainly something Rumi can, I think what we're looking at is for you to know, what's my demand in May, June, July, August, and then comparing that to what am I likely to grow, or what am I growing, so you've got that awareness around your likely surpluses, and also you can track that as the season changes. So heading into the year with a plan, but then also being able to see how that plan, how the actual or the reality of the season is adjusting next to the plan. So as you say, running as having a tradable stock class, really effective way for managing risk, but you do need that heads up and awareness of how you're tracking against your plan, either through regular measurement or through a tool like Rumi. As you say, a dashboard that puts some of those numbers together for you, probably even more useful.
Yeah, no, cheers.
Cool. All right then, everybody. Well, hopefully you have some of the evening remaining, and hope you can enjoy it. And thanks very much for coming along. And we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, cool. Right, take care, everyone. Have a good evening.
Cheers now. Bye.
Bye.